Hi guys, White Witch 110 here. I never did finish the other story that I started. It got away on me. I did delete a chunk of it and rewrite the ending, but wasn't happy enough to continue with it. I have started a new one. I'm 8 pages in. The temporary title is Vision of Grandeur. That will change at some point. But I thought I would begin reading this one and see what you think. Cornelia's life was rather dull. She was not the most popular girl when in school. She was never the party type. Cornelia kept to herself, with the exception of her best friend Ruth. The two had known one another from the age of 5. Ruth's parents had purchased the house next to hers. Cornelia's home was willed to her mother at the death of her grandmother, and her mother, Jody, would have nothing to do with the old drafty place. But Cornelia had always loved it. Each creaking board and swollen door caused her to smile. The windows were single pane that were covered in thick plastic during the cold months. As a child, she recalled the snow coming through the small gaps in the frame. It was all charming to her. Ruth, on the other hand, found it all slightly creepy. Her own parents were never truly comfortable when Cornelia's family were away. Deborah, Ruth's mother, would swear she had seen a figure behind the living room curtains. Ruth herself had once noted a figure in the garden late at night. Her father grabbed his golf club and searched the yard. He declared it empty and strongly suggested Ruth close her window and go to sleep. So why did Ruth agree to move in with her best friend? Well, truth be told, she didn't want her living alone in that house. Cornelia was content on her own. The house never frightened her. It felt like a warm hug. She knew every sound and where it originated from. There were no practical reasons to feel otherwise. Though, if she were to be honest, Cornelia never felt alone. It has never been an unpleasant feeling. If it had disappeared, she would miss it. Cornelia, how have you managed on your own all this time? Ruth gently placed the final box on the floor of her new space. It was a bountiful room. Her love seat fit wonderfully on one wall, with ample space for the double bed she recently purchased. The same as everyone else, was Cornelia's simple reply. Your bed is beautiful. I always wanted a sleigh bed. She smiled, running her hand over the oak footboard. But I love my rustic bed. 2 years back, an artisan in town crafted bed frames from driftwood. The same artisan made a forest scene with old barn boards as a feature wall by her bedroom door. You don't worry about unwanted guests? Ruth attempted to be delicate. Cornelia understood where her best friend was coming from. No, to be honest, I saged it all. I sage it all before it enters the house, she laughed. Maybe I should sage you. The comment took Ruth by surprise. Seeing that mischievous look appear on Cornelia's face, she giggled in response. I'll leave you to settle while I start dinner. Ham and scalloped potatoes, fine with you? Delightful, she smiled. If you need help, just call up the stairs. Okay, but I have it all under control, which she actually did. Ruth began unpacking her suitcases and hanging up her dresses and skirts. The chest of drawers had ample space for her other clothing. Ruth sat on the bottom edge of her bed. With hands on the mattress, she grinned and looked around the room. This was now home for at least the following few years. It did feel good, she admitted to herself. In the kitchen, dinner was cooking, sending healthy aromas wafting up the staircase. Cornelia made sure to make enough for leftovers. Today's food, always tomorrow's treat. Dinner dishes washed, and back up in the cupboards, the best friends sat, pleasantly stuffed, on the living room sofa. Did I ever tell you my mom saw a figure in the window here when your family was on holidays? Ruth asked, laying back into the soft cushion with eyes closed. Your mother may have to mine, but nothing was ever mentioned to me, Cornelia said. Not a thing? And I'd like to keep it that way. She told a white lie. Joking, Cornelia gazed up to the ceiling. Did you hear that, spirits? No playing around with Ruth. As the evening progressed, the women became exceedingly drawn out. It had been a complete day of moving. Both required sleep to be up early the following morning. Their 9-to-5 jobs had become so routine they could walk their days blindfolded. Not a healthy way to live, though it paid the bills. Sitting all day, going through pages of typing, tired the eyes easily. Cornelia, did you hear the latest? Gemma, a co-worker, inquired. Cornelia shook her head. The old Atkin place is haunted. Tony and Dan explored it a couple of days ago. Apparently, a shadow figure chased them away. Oh, really? Interesting. I never got that vibe from that old place. It seems quite sad to me. I imagine back in the day it was filled with excitement and love. Now it sits there alone for vandals to destroy. A home like that is truly part of our past, unfortunately. You live in a house like that. Doesn't it scare you? Gemma asked. No, I know the ghosts that live in my home. She smiled sweetly. That evening at dinner, Ruth was compelled to mention something small that had come to her attention. Cornelia, I heard scratching in my bedroom wall last night. Oh, that's just little Mo. Little Mo? Ruth was confused. A small mouse. He's been here for a few years now. He's harmless. I leave goodies for him in the cupboard in the kitchen. Seeing the worried expression on Ruth's face, she added, Don't worry, it's away from our food. Ruth relaxed in her chair. For the remainder of the evening, the two exchanged stories of their daily work. By 10, both women were in their own rooms. Cornelia sat up in bed, completing an edit she had begun during the day. Ruth sat reading a mystery novel. The sound of tiny claws against the old plaster began by her ear. Hello, Mo, she said, attempting to remain calm. For that second, the tiny claws became silent. Ruth exhaled. Moments later, it began again. Ignore it, she repeated to herself. Reading the same sentence more than once, she gave up and closed her book, marking her place with a scrap of paper. Cornelia powered off her laptop and laid it on her bedside table. She turned off the small lamp. Laying in the darkness, she recounted her day. Gemma's comment played over. Why were certain places taken for granted to be haunted? Ruth was up early and out of the house before Cornelia's alarm rang. Her dreams became nightmares since she crossed the threshold of this house. house. The scratching was incessant last night. Her sleep was restless. Cornelia's sleep was wonderful. Her dreams were a comfort. The sun shone bright, and its warmth encouraged her garden to grow. The dream was a burst of color and wonderful aromas. Ruth had to inform her best friend she may not be able to stay. Over time, the nightmares were mounting. Each was a notch above the last. It was Friday night pizza. Ruth made a stop at the liquor store for a couple of cans of coolers. I always feel like a teenager Fridays, sitting in front of the TV, curled up under a blanket, eating pizza and drinking a cold cooler, Cornelia said. You drank coolers as a teenager? Ruth asked, surprised. Well, no. It was actually pop, but I pretended it was alcohol. Stupid, eh? She laughed before taking a bite of the pepperoni pizza. Being honest, I used to pretend the same thing, Ruth admitted. Both of them relaxed. It was time to relax. And it was time. Cornelia, are all your dreams pleasant? Yes, why do you ask? Since I moved in here, I've had nothing but nightmares. I don't understand it. I've never experienced this before. The weight was lifting off her shoulders. I'm sorry you're going through this. It is strange. What happens in these nightmares? Cornelia was concerned. She didn't want this to cause her friend to leave. Although she enjoyed being on her own, having Ruth in the house felt right. They always start the same. Ruth wrapped her blanket tighter around herself as she began. It's the day I move in. You're in the kitchen and I'm settling in. I hear the heavy step of a boot upon the staircase. The closer the sound, the brighter the side table lamp gets. It reaches a point when the boot steps stop outside my door. At that moment, the light explodes and my room is plunged in darkness. I'm calling out to you, but you don't respond. You're still in the kitchen preparing dinner. I see a huge ham glistening in the oven through the window. You're stirring the scalloped potatoes with a wooden spoon, but then you turn and it isn't your face. At this point, Ruth is hysterical. I tried to open the bedroom door, but it stuck. Then I heard them again. The same heavy footstep, but it's in my room. I'm tugging on the doorknob, but it still won't open. I feel a hot breath on my back. I'm terrified to turn around. I don't want to see the face it belongs to. She is now near tears. I'm not sure I can go on like this, Cornelia. I want to be company for you, but I don't think I can stay. It's almost like... Her voice trailed off. Almost like what? Cornelia inquired. It's as if the house doesn't want me here, so it becomes a ghost. I've never heard such a thing. How can a house become a ghost? I don't understand all of this. Ruth, it's a dream. Ruth became angry. Maybe to you it's only a dream, but it's one hell of a nightmare for me. I thought you would understand. She slapped her slice of pizza down on the plate and stomped up the stairs, slamming her bedroom door. Cornelia gathered up the plates and cans. The leftover pizza she left in the box and shoved it in the fridge. She didn't feel like climbing the stairs to her room, so she stretched out on the sofa. Admittedly, she herself was angry that her best friend could say such a thing. Was Ruth indeed a best friend? Was this something she should have considered more? Was it a rash decision on her part? The house becoming a ghost. How ridiculous. The TV continued to play old movies from a late-night channel. Cornelia drifted to sleep. Her dream began by the river. The rising sun reflected in diamonds on the water surface. Birds were singing as they woke in their nests. Dew-covered blades of grass surrounding her bare feet. The cold river lapped against boulders and pebbles on shore. Cornelia placed the tip of her toes into the water. It was refreshing. The warm, gentle touch of a hand rested upon her bicep. Without turning, she smiled, placing her hand on top of the smooth skin. "You know I love you," she informed the person behind her. In the second, she felt the hand dissolve into her arm. Cornelia woke with a start. Gaining her bearings, she fell back to sleep. I think I am going to leave it there now that I was going to continue reading, but I think I like leaving it right there. So I hope you enjoyed this, the beginning of the story, and I look forward to reading more of it to you the next time. Now, I was thinking of doing a craft this evening, but it is too hot in this closet. So that'll have to be for another time when that's all I do, and then I get out. So until the next time, ciao for now.